Good morning, everybody. How are you? You're good? You know, my mom always said three things. One, say good morning, so good morning. And two, make sure you say please and thank you. So I'll try to work that in. All right, so just nod your head when I say please and I say thank you. So look, I'm really excited to be here. It's the first, I guess, the official day. You know, we had the pre-sessions, right? But now we have the official day. There's a lot of great sessions, a lot of great things to be doing. And what I want to do is I want to spend the next couple of minutes, I guess 22 minutes precisely, talking about the renaissance that's happening in the IT industry and what business people are doing to drive the art of the possible. I mean, we should all be walking with a little bit of swag. We should feel really good. It kind of feels like the mid-90s with the advent of TCP/IP, the internet. There's just so much going on. There's so much opportunity. And then you look at what's happening, right, around in the world that we live in. Just the city, which, by the way, I'm amazed that all of you are here on such a beautiful day in New York City. It's going to be like 80 degrees out today, right? You know, the world is becoming more instrumented, more interconnected, more intelligent, right? And that is impacting everything we do, not just the systems we build in our operation centers, but how we live our lives, right? It's impacting business folks. It allows them to start to think about how to get information, right? Insights from information, how to put customers first. And for those of us who perhaps serve application folks or application folks who serve business folks, those are customers. How do you put them first, right? There's just a whole lot of opportunity and a whole lot going on. You know, at IBM, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Angel. I'm with IBM. Nice to meet you all. I know a couple of you. We run these surveys and we ask, you know, our clients, we ask CIOs and CEOs what's important. And one of the things, and for the first time ever, when they look at what's important to their business, what's important for driving business results, the number one thing that came out this year, okay, was technology. So we should step back, feel proud. This is why I said walk a little bit. Technology is the number one differentiator for them. We've got a great opportunity and a great burden on our shoulders. However, number two was people skills. Now, oftentimes, you know, technology and people skills maybe aren't kind of come hand in hand, right? But what I'd like to do in this presentation is focus on that. Focus on technology and people, and how people and technology coming together can actually help you drive innovation in your business, okay? That's really the way we're going to break this down. So let's just look at technology for a second. Lots of stuff going on. Mobile, social, Internet of Things, big data, analytics. Well, all of this is great. All of this is driving amazing workloads in our data centers, in our applications, in our networks. But without a flexible infrastructure, we won't be able to handle that load. And I got a couple interesting stats later that hopefully will put this in context for you. But cloud is emerging as becoming a growth engine. Speed is becoming the new currency, right? You know, it's like, no, I don't want to give you a Benjamin, I want to give you speed. You want to be able to go fast, right? It empowers the business and improves the economics of how you do things. Now let's look at people for a moment, though. When you look at technology and cloud specifically as supporting these other kind of things that I spoke about, mobile, Internet of Things, big data, so forth, social, you are at the center of this. We, as technologists, are at the center of this, right? It empowers us as business users, application developers, IT professionals. It enables business innovation, and frankly, it helps us start to shift our spend. You know, we spend about 70% of our IT budget maintaining our infrastructure. That gives you about 30% for innovation. You know, that's not cool, right? No es bueno. You want to move that spend a little bit over, right? Maybe 50-50 would be nice, right? So that's what these things are starting to do. So let me just give you a couple of factoids just to kind of clearly drive home this point that cloud is really important. And then we'll get into the innovation side of this, okay? Now, first of all, social and mobile. Interesting stats. 90% of mobile users have their devices within arm's reach. I'd like to know who was that other 10%. You know, because I sleep with my mobile devices under my pillow because my alarm is on, right? 20% of business users say that they're going to replace mobile interaction, stream-based interaction, with email. I would argue that's going to happen very quickly. You look at the way folks coming out of school, folks don't use email anymore, right? They interact in a more ad hoc way, using events and notifications, right? This change is driving incredible loads on our systems. Check out the Internet of Things. There are 5 billion intelligent devices out there today, okay? And literally, they think 30 billion are going to be connected over the internet. That's amazing. Think about the opportunity you have for doing analytics, for doing change, but also think the challenges that's going to drive on your systems, right? 80% of data is unstructured and growing at an incredible rate. Now, why is that an interesting stat? You have relational data, you have unstructured data. Well, if you want to do something with unstructured data, what do you got to do? You got to run algorithms on it, right? What does algorithms need? They need compute power. What does compute power need? A flexible infrastructure, right? There's going to be over 8 zettabytes of information, right? If you can't handle all that information, that's going to be catastrophic, right? And of course, cloud. The spend in cloud by our clients and by us as a user of cloud is increasing year to year to year. Today, over 50% of folks already leverage cloud in some way within their organizations. There's going to be about a $43 billion spend in cloud, and they expect that to increase by twofold. Okay? So, hopefully I've set the stage. Okay? I've given you a little bit of motivation. People, technology, matter, people coming together, lots of stress in our systems, lots of opportunity. How do we capture that innovation? Now, do you think I'm arrogant enough to say, well, just buy IBM products and that's your answer, right? You got 400,000 people in the company. That should be a good answer. I'm not a salesperson, so that's probably why. No, but actually, the way this is shaking out in the industry and the way this renaissance is occurring is through open source and standards, okay? That is fueling this rebirth of IT, this reinvention of business. Let's just think about in the early 90s, mid-90s, back when HTML was being started. Does anyone know why HTML was created? Anyone? Just raise your hand if you know. No one knows. Someone knows. You don't have to answer. It was created to disseminate physics information. Not to buy your latest sneakers or shoes. I don't know why I'm looking at you, but why to buy your latest sneakers or shoes, right? But it was fueled by openness and open technology. In fact, every modern day web application server, whether it's IBM's or anyone else's, ships with the same open source code to deliver the web page. When you type in http://ibm.com, that code that gives you the page, it's open source. It's happened through the interesting and most important cycles of technology, and it's happening now with social, mobile, and cloud, okay? And I'm going to get a little bit deeper now, okay? When I was previewing these charts, one of the coordinators was saying, there's a lot of words on your charts. I'm like, well, I have a lot of substance. I want to say something. So if it's too wordy, I apologize. But I think it's important to make this message clear. When you look at what's emerging in industry to support cloud, there is an open architecture evolving. Everything from an open hardware platform through software-defined networking environments to an infrastructure environment, right? How you provision your virtual machines, to your platform environment, how you run your applications, to an API economy, to ultimately how you interact with those applications, okay? And across each of those are open source communities that are driving the art of the possible. And I'm going to make a statement that if you don't leverage open source or a vendor who uses open source in their products, you will be left behind. You will not be able to out-innovate. I don't care if you got 400,000 5 billion people in your country. You're not going to be able to innovate the world, okay? What's happening now is very similar to what's happening in the days of the internet. Now, let's take a focus for a moment on infrastructure as a service, okay? There you want to be able to essentially have software-defined compute, storage, and network, right? You want to be able to provision your VMs, grow space, expand space as needed, and you want to have interoperability across different vendors, because you might do some in-house, you might do some outhouse. That's cute. You might want to do some off-premise. The press is, hi, Angel Diaz says outhouse. So look, the de facto open source kind of effort that's occurring at this layer is something called OpenStack. Anyone hear of OpenStack? Yes, right, a lot of us. Well, I remember having the conversations with Rackspace about 1.5 years ago when we were talking about bringing, OpenStack. It was about 250 people, a dog, a cat, and a bunny rabbit. That was OpenStack. It is now over 11,000 folks. It is bigger than Linux in terms of an open source community, all right? I encourage you, if you guys haven't been to an OpenStack conference, there's one coming up in Hong Kong. They expect 6,000 people to show up. This is for a piece of open source software, right? This is amazing. This is what's happening in the industry. And you know what? What's really important is this integration. The integration between, say, the infrastructure layer and the network. OpenStack has a project called Neutron, which deals with software-defined networks and the northbound interfaces if you're a networking guy, right? We just did some work with Juniper using Neutron to show integration of orchestration. Orchestration is all about encoding the relationships between, say, a networking person and a provisioning person, right? In a contract that you can then do repeatedly. Because one of the things that slow you down is actually all the checkpoints to make sure you get stuff right when you deploy it, because there's a very good reason, right, to have those checkpoints. Encoding that knowledge in a pattern. That's what you're able to do there with some of that integration we've done. Now let's talk about platform briefly. Platform, the renaissance is this whole, everyone hear the word polyglot? Right? Polyglot programming. You want to work in many different languages. So you want a runtime, a cloud engine that supports many different languages, right? Well, the thing that I think is happening now is an open source effort named Cloud Foundry. So similar to OpenStack, this is kind of the de facto energy industry thing that's happening around an open source platform as a service, where you can bring in any of your favorite runtimes and start to build your applications. Okay? So if you don't know about Cloud Foundry, go check it out. And how you interact. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do with cloud as an industry in this renaissance is reduce the concept count. How many O'Reilly books does it take to build an application? Those little books, the cute animals on it, right? How many of those books does it take, right, to build an application? Well, we're trying to reduce that concept count. And your typical mobile application has many different, pieces of technology that it uses, right? So having an API economy and building on open source helps you reduce that concept count, okay? And specifically, there's 2 standards that I think are really important here. HTML5, which I assume everybody knows what that is, right? Did you know that IBM co-chairs the HTML committee? We don't ship a browser. But why do we care? Because we care about this open architecture. Okay, we care about the integration of the solution from top all the way to how it's running, and it needs to be linked. Which really is a good point to talk about skills for a moment, and about you. Because let me ask you all a question. How many of you all here are network folks? Raise your hand. How many of you all here are called operations people for data centers, more? How about DB administrator? Any application folks? Right? 1 or 2. So, some of the stuff I told you might even sound foreign as I'm talking. Well, you all answered the question incorrectly. You're like, what? What? I am a network guy, right? No, what you need to start, yes, you are a network person. It's a T-shaped skill. You need to really understand your domain, but you need to start to branch out. Because the only way that you will be agile in this new world that's evolving is understanding what's happening across these different layers. You need to understand, as a network person, what Neutron is doing in OpenStack, okay? And as an infrastructure person, you need to understand the realities of a software-defined network and what happens when you have an IP-based network versus not, for example. You have to understand these constraints. So you need to develop, as individuals, skills that allow you to span across these different domains, okay? And that's why it's really important to understand what's happening in the industry, because this is moving. This is where the world is moving. This kind of open source is driving the cloud. So as a professional, you need to start to understand how these different pieces fit together. So what I'd like to actually show you is a little application that shows you how quickly people are trying to build these applications from top to bottom. I'm going to show you a little demo. It's a set of screenshots. It's not like a real live demo, but it's real code running in my lab. I got a cloud lab in Silicon Valley in San Jose. So if you guys are out there, just shoot me a note. I'm happy to show it to you there. And it's something we call Bluemix. And this is really about speed. Remember I said speed is the new currency, right? People want to be quick. So how do you be quick? You want to stand up your environment quickly. You want to set up your network quickly. You want to build your application quickly. You want to change your application quickly, right? So the expectation is that the business folks will ask for something, will have an idea, or work with you on an idea to understand how IT can be a differentiator, right? And they want to build a new application. In this example, if you're an app, there's like the 3 people who raised their hand as app people, right? You want to build something called a Node.js application. That's a JavaScript-based application for the server, okay? And you go and you just kind of click, I want a Node.js application. And then you go and you import a very simple little file, and you start to say, you know what, I need an additional service in that application. I need a database service in the application. So you bring in a MongoDB. MongoDB is an open source database, NoSQL unstructured data source. They actually are in the New York Times building here in the city, right? So you want to bring that into your environment dynamically. Now, imagine how hard that would be if you didn't have a flexible infrastructure. If you've never had Mongo before, right? And you haven't encoded the pattern of, what does it mean to bring Mongo into my enterprise, right? That would take days or weeks. Folks want to do this quickly. And if you want to keep folks in your data centers, or if you want to keep folks, understanding how to build quickly in your environments, you have to start to build these policies. So you build a little data application. Then you can bring in a service. We got an IBM Watson service, but we're not going to do that. We're going to bring in an analytics service, and you quickly string together, say, an application that does sentiment analysis, right? That can show you on any particular set of Twitter feeds and hashtags and so forth, what's trending, what's hot, what's not, right? It's pretty cool stuff. You can literally build this application using this open architecture in minutes. Everything from provisioning the network, using these patterns, to the hardware, to the images, all this happens behind the scenes because it's integrated, okay? So the reason I show you that is because I don't want to say, we've got great products to help you do that. Yeah, we absolutely do, because that is the art of the possible, what the expectation is, and where folks are moving towards. So as you spend your week here, and as you go to sessions, right, challenge yourself to go to sessions that are perhaps outside of your comfort zone, right, to start to understand what's happening at these different layers, understand these pillars of open source, whether it's things like Open Daylight for networks, or OpenStack for the infrastructure layer, or Cloud Foundry, or HTML5. Challenge yourself to understand how those things are changing the way we build solutions for our clients, the business folks, okay? And then when you make choices for a vendor, challenge them. Are you using those open technologies in your products? If not, are you going to get out-innovated by the world? So with that, I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. First of all, there's 2 additional sessions I encourage you to attend. A fellow named Inder, I think he's in here in the back somewhere, will be talking about Open Daylight, which is an open source effort for software-defined networks. Everyone's involved, Cisco and Juniper, it's really cool stuff. You should learn about that. And we're also in room 2D04, where I'll be there and a bunch of other folks will be there. If you want to ask us more questions, I'm happy to do that. I also got links to what I think are kind of some of the most important concepts that I ask you. So please, I said please. There you go. Good morning. I gotta say thank you at some point. Please go visit it. Go check out OpenStack. Check out Open Daylight. You can visit the IBM Cloud site. I wrote a blog that kind of gives you much more technical detail on what I just talked about, and learn about what's happening, because it's a really, really exciting time in the industry right now. This renaissance that's occurring in IT, and this renaissance that's occurring in business. Okay. So with that, I think I could probably take one question or so. You got a question? Oh, come on. Don't leave me hanging. Just ask me something. It's my favorite sports team. How often do I blog? That's good. You know what? Blogging is I like to blog about at least once a month. I tweet much more. Blogging is a little bit more of an effort, because you got to think about, it's just not thrown out there. Well, look, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for coming to the conference. It's going to be a great week. Take care, guys.